Welcome back. Well, Republicans are gaining ground with just 21 days to go until the midterm elections. A New York Times Siena College poll reveals that inflation and the economy are the two top issues on voter minds, with 44% ranking the two issues combined as their top priorities. 49% say that they plan to cast their ballot for a Republican, compared to 45% who say they plan for a Democrat. Joining me right now is CPAC Chairman and author of The Desecrators, Matt Schlapp. Matt, it is great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
You as well, Maria.
All right, so we are coming down the mountain here and closing in on the midterms. How would you assess the field today? Give us your assessment.
Yeah, I've looked at these. You know, if you look at the last 6 or 7 polls, they all show the Republicans with an advantage in the generic ballot. And I'm going out to all these states. I'll be in Georgia and North Carolina later this week. I'll be up in Pennsylvania after that. And what I see on the ground is tremendous enthusiasm for the Republican candidates, but mostly the Democrats are usually ducking debates or only agreeing to one because they're having trouble with 3 basic questions. Number one, why aren't you inviting Joe Biden in to campaign with you? Number 2, why is it that you want 9 months of abortion? There's not one single abortion that you would regulate. And number 3, what are you going to do to lower my gas prices? They don't have answers to any of these questions, and so they're hoping and praying that the national media just says, hey, the big red wave fizzled, and Democrats are going to do okay. I don't see it, Maria.
Well, I mean, it's interesting to see this administration failing to take on inflation and really making these claims that it's the Republicans' fault. So I think that in and of itself makes people uncomfortable because there's no honesty here.
That's right. First of all, they made a big mistake in saying that they were going to be able to do anything on inflation because we super juiced the economy, as you know, for too many years with too many trillions of dollars. And it's created this inflation genie that's very hard to get back into the bottle. And by the way, for regular folks, they're really hurting. And it's not just Republicans who are hurting. It's Republicans and Democrats who are hurting. That's why Democrats are in a really tough position because their own voters are frustrated at how much it costs to put food on the table or fuel their tank. And then you have what's behind it. Back to school, all the stories of the war on parents and pushing gender confusion and all the craziness that's gotten into our curriculum. And then on top of that, the crime that's especially endemic in these big cities. You know, Democrats have no place to turn to answer the basic questions of voters.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you're seeing people like Tulsi Gabbard leave the party, say, I don't even recognize the Democrats anymore. Is that because the progressives are running things? I mean, now they're attempting to shift the narrative ahead of the midterms. Here's President Biden and his White House press secretary attempting to blame all of this on the Republicans. Watch.
Let's talk about who is against helping millions of hardworking middle-class Americans. Republican members of Congress, Republican governors.
Republicans are actually going to make things worse, and Democrats want to do the opposite and make things a little easier.
What is she talking about, Matt?
I don't know. I think the problem for them is, look where Joe Biden's speaking from, Maria. He's not in any of these states with important races. The only state he went to recently was California. We have a huge Senate race in Nevada. We have a huge Senate race in Arizona. They don't want Joe Biden. Nobody wants Joe Biden because his policies are seen as a failure. And I think, you know, what's interesting is that Republicans are out there with answers. They have specific answers. Rick Scott has a whole agenda. Kevin McCarthy has a whole agenda. You know, the Republicans who are making a difference are the ones who are saying, here's what we would do with greater political power. And for the Democrats, Maria, you know this. They moved from the center and went far extreme, woke, socialist, full on. It's just not where America is. They went too far.
So what races are you watching closest? Because I guess a couple of weeks ago, people were saying that the Democrats were going to win the Senate. But now it's not looking so sure at this point. What are the most important races you're watching?
So if I'm a Democrat, I'm saying, look, I see tight polls for the governor's race in Kansas and Oklahoma. Those are very tight races, states that Republicans usually do well in. But if I'm a Republican, there's 30 to 40 House seats that are just ripe for the picking. That would give Kevin McCarthy a very large majority in the House. And in the Senate, I've said for weeks, I continue to say, I don't see how the Democrats pull out many of these races. Look at Herschel Walker. They have the October surprise of this abortion controversy. That's about all the Democrats are going to have, is something to make it about the weakness of the individual candidate, but not on any of the policies. Blake Masters out in Arizona running for the Senate, nobody gave him much of a chance. Every poll I look at shows that a dead heat. If Republicans pull out Oz, Herschel Walker, and Blake Masters, you're going to see a Senate majority of more than one for the Republicans.
Adam Johnson, jump in.
Matt, wonderful speaking with you. You mentioned abortion as an issue, certainly that Democrats are dodging, and I wonder if it backfires. My question is this. How is it that we have gotten to a point where somehow an abortion at the 9th month is a positive? And might it be that rational Democrats step back and say, hang on a minute, have we gone too far? Does that stance actually backfire on the Democrats?
Yeah, there's only 5 regimes in the globe, despotic regimes, that have abortion policies through all 9 months. Think of a country like France, which isn't known as being socially conservative. They limit abortions to the first trimester. So you're right, 9 months is just too extreme. And what we're seeing in polling is what we've seen enduringly for 5 decades, which is women are more pro-life than men. And it benefits the pro-life candidate more than the pro-choice candidate because there are more pro-life voters who will vote on that single issue than pro-choice voters who will vote on that single issue. So in the end, the national coverage of abortion has almost always been misunderstood. And this cycle, once again, being a pro-life candidate will accrue to your benefit because what you're saying is, let's have some common sense restrictions.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, the media is obviously talking about the Democrats and siding with the Democrats. Parler announced that Kanye West has agreed to buy a Parler from the Parliament Technologies. I spoke with Parliament Technologies CEO George Farmer yesterday for a Fox Business exclusive after the news broke. Here's what he said.
Parler needs Ye in many ways because Parler needs its brand to expand, and I think Ye is very interested in expanding his social media presence. What motivated this for him was, of course, his banning from other social media platforms. We are very excited about the potential that he can bring to the platform in terms of the growth profile of the marketing operation of this platform, which he's going to bring to it.
Matt, is this a positive to see Parler get stronger, given the fact that there's so many in the media that have just sided with the Democrats, censoring the Hunter Biden crimes, and basically pushing this agenda that has failed?
Yeah, Maria, you mentioned Tulsi Gabbard. Kanye West's interview with Tucker Carlson, although he had some irregular answers for sure, you see these cultural icons, these people who were of the left shifting over, and I think there'll be a breakdown of social media. What I'm seeing with entrepreneurs in the CPAC space, entrepreneurs in the conservative space, there's going to be all types of commercial vehicles for people who love America and are tired of the war on America, both in social media and banking with credit cards. I'm really seeing this as just about ready to take off. And whether it's Parler or Truth or all these other companies, I think many of us are just stepping back and saying, I don't need to fund organizations that hate my country and hate my family.
Yeah, and I know you've been working on that against woke companies now for some time. Matt, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here this morning.